Whilst there appears to be a mass exodus on the grid, we are pleased to confirm we are back for the 2024 season.
Yes, hello and welcome back to the British Touring Car Podcast. We're standing up once again, same as we did for our awards show, because it feels a little bit different and hopefully a little bit better this year.
And healthier for your legs.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, we've got plenty to get through because the off-season has already had its ups and downs, and with
Mainly downs.
in your opinion, yes. But there have been lots of changes on and off the grid, and we're going to get into them now. Sure.
Yes, makes sense too. That's why we're here.
We're going to start with all the drivers that are leaving the grid, first of all. Obviously, we know that Team Hard aren't back this season, which we are sorry to see. Consequently, the 7 drivers that they had last season are all going to be looking for seats.
9, 10, 11.
There might have been a few more than that, actually, weren't there? Yeah. But the ones that we do know with what's happening is Patterson, first of all.
Yes.
He is going off to GTs.
Heart is
GT4.
broken. Heart is broken.
Yeah. It'll be good to see him go and develop in another series, because I think the most amount of experience you can get is driving lots of different cars and developing your skills in that way.
There's a racer in there. There always will be.
Yeah, it means I can't make the T-shirt for you now, though.
I know.
So
well, it's a shame you're not wearing yours.
I was going to say, I did think about it, but I think I'm going to save that for the predictions.
Very much so.
Boutel is also leaving the grid, along with Lloyd, who are both off to Porsche, and they will be joining up as teammates in a brand new team for the Porsche Carrera Cup.
That's really interesting for me, because also we know Lloyd's a top driver.
Yes.
He's won multiple races in the touring cars. Boutel's never really had the equipment underneath him to see if he is a good driver or not. His best time probably came in the Mercedes with Adam Morgan in that silver and red Mac Tools liveried A-Class. He did have a shot in the Hyundai, to be fair, but didn't really get off the ground. Only had a season there, and obviously the Cupra didn't really work out either.
No.
So yeah, I'm interested to see what he can do in Porsche. Lloyd, I think, will take to it like a duck to water. He's a very good driver, and his YouTube channel will be very interesting this year to see his journey into the world of Porsche and the rear-wheel drive, because he's used to the front-wheel drive. But it is a shame, certainly for Lloyd to have lost. That's not to be disrespectful to Boutel, but we don't know what sort of quantity he is as a driver. As Lloyd is, we know, is a
it's a race winner.
Race winner, and he's in the sort of B tier plus driver in the touring cars, and it's a big name to lose. But with Lloyd, it's always come down to funding, and it boggles my mind that Porsche could be cheaper than touring cars. But there we go.
That's what you get when you get a series that is ready and prepared to give you the car that you need to race and loan you that for the season, and then you just have to bring the extra little bits, which is what makes it more affordable. But what I'm really interested to see is, with both of them being in the same team, they're likely to have similar setups and be able to bounce off each other. Whether there is going to be a big...
Figuratively, not literally.
Hopefully. There is going to be a difference between the two drivers. I just want to see how big that difference is going to be.
Yeah,
with both of them going into a rear-wheel drive car that we haven't seen either of them racing before.
No.
They aren't the only two drivers, though, that are going to Porsche. Jelly is going back into the Porsches once more. Yeah. Right. He will be, obviously, he had the option to come back with BMW this season for one more year. He's chosen not to, which I kind of understand.
It could be a commercial decision more than an actual personal decision. Obviously, he did say on the grid at the end of last year that he had an option, but he had to get certain deals over the line. And touring cars is really expensive now.
It is.
But so interested to see how he does back in Porsche. That's been confirmed, then, has it? He's back in Porsche.
Yes, it has,
right.
So it does open us up another seat at BMW. We have a couple of them probably confirmed so far, which we'll get into later. But there are going to be options there for other drivers on the grid that may want to move up and develop their careers. I think...
That's the Porsche. That's the Porsche exodus.
That's the Porsche exodus sorted.
Yeah.
It'll be good to see those drivers again on the Toka package, and I think having them in the Porsche series might get a little bit more interest in that direction. We have seen some years where the Porsches have been a little less interesting, shall we say, and other years where we've had a good top four battle and stuff like that. But if these drivers are going to be competitive in Porsche, it's going to make for a really exciting championship.
Particularly if you start mixing amongst names like Kieran Jewis. Obviously, Adam Sawley's not going to be there. He's moving on. But you're going to possibly have De Haans in the series.
Lewis Plato.
Possibly come back. Gus Burton, Charles Rainford. There's some really good drivers in that series. Yeah. And you add these in. Obviously, Ollie Jackson's there as well. was there last year, probably will be there this year.
Yep.
It'd be interesting to see how that goes.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting championship to keep an eye on. Another driver to have left the grid and taken a sabbatical for a year.
Biggest name, I think, in terms of
so far,
definitely.
Is Rory Butcher.
Yeah.
He put a post out, was it this week, to say that he was going to take a year out. He's got family that he wants to spend more time with. There are commercial things that he needs to be doing and dealing with Knock Hill.
I was going to say, he's now, I believe, in charge solely of Knock Hill. It seems that Shevden's taken a step back from Knock Hill.
Yeah.
Maybe to go racing.
Maybe.
But Butcher is doing more of that. And of course, he lives in, I think, Kilcaddy, which is a long way to go for each weekend that isn't Knock Hill.
Yeah.
And he has got a young family, and, sometimes racing is the least important of the most important things.
Yes, exactly. It'll be a shame to miss him from the championship. He's always provided good, if at times questionable, racing.
Well, I think certainly his early days, I think if you look at the amount of comments on the Instagram post he put up from fellow drivers, it tells you that amount of respect he has on the grid for other drivers. I think certainly, in the early days, yes, I'd agree with you, but I think he's mellowed, calmed, become a bit more considered in recent times.
For me, last season, he was a little bit unlucky. Ran into, obviously, the might of Napa last season and only managed to take one win along the way. Although that
Do you think he was unlucky? I think
very late into the season.
Do you think it was unlucky? I just think it was completely outshone by Collard, personally. I just don't think he had a good year. I just think he struggled. I think he said himself he struggled with confidence in the car.
Collard did have a very good season and slightly upstaged him, but I think the car overall struggled.
Yeah, I'd agree
compared
with
to
that.
the other three main ones.
But certainly to have a former independence champion and multiple race winner off the grid is never a good thing. No,
and his teammate last season, Collard, which we've just mentioned, has posted something very cryptic on his Instagram.
Or two, he put on his story. I can't access the story now but certainly something along the lines of we had a good run or something like that. And then on Butcher's leaving post, let's see where we end up. Which is
it's a strange one that. Whether he'll be staying in the series, we'll wait and see. I personally have my own thoughts that he may well step across to BMW. I think that post was more about being with Toyota, and obviously last season he got convinced to come back. Whether he now moves on to a different team after he had such a successful season with Toyota,
he's done.
It'll be an interesting one to find out.
He's stepping back. That's my prediction.
Do you reckon he stays in any racing? Sorry to put you on the spot there.
Yes, but I think he might move across to GTs. His dad did GTs for a while.
Yeah.
I think he might move into endurance racing, perhaps.
Okay, that's fair enough. I think that covers all the drivers then that have left the sport.
Yes.
We will go through the...
Correct as of...
correct as of the 3rd of February.
Yeah.
And going forward, we'll look into the teams that we don't really know what is happening at the moment. Obviously, licenses have been given out, which you saw in our previous video, almost a month ago now, which means that we've got at least 3, which we're not even sure what car they might be running. So first of all, we've got CBM, which we believe is Car Boardley Motorsport.
It is Car Boardley Motorsport. There's no believing about it. It is.
And that could well be a Cupra. It could be any other car that it wants to be. But we already know that Car Boardley will be going back to defend his TCR title.
Yeah.
So we know he's not going to be on the grid in that car. He's done very well in recent seasons in loaning out his licence, as he did to Team Hard and other entities. Will that be the case this season, or will it just not get fulfilled?
The only way I see it being lent out is if a manufacturer takes it and runs 5 cars. Because Toyota are running 4, Yapa are running 4, BMW are running 4, Hyundai are running 4. Yeah. One Motorsport, as we'll get to, who knows. Restart Racing aren't going to run the 3rd car.
No.
I'd be amazed if they do. PMR aren't going to run a 4th car.
No.
And we don't get privateer entries anymore. It doesn't happen. The costs are too high. We're not going to get a Simpson Racing, for example. No. Even Team Parker don't do.
Not wanting to, are they?
So, the only way I see it being used is that a team takes on a 4th.
Yeah.
But realistically,
or a 5th.
Or 5th. Sorry, 5th. Yeah. But realistically, I just don't see it getting used. I just think we're going to have a really small grid this year.
Yeah, which is something that Gal possibly alluded to at the end of last season, wanting to see maybe a 22 or 24 car grid. Now, my personal opinion on that is if we are going to see a small grid like that, I'd like more 2 or 3 car entries rather than 4 car teams.
Yeah, I'd agree.
So how that all gets split up is a bit weird, a bit unusual. There were obviously regulations previously to say that teams couldn't run 4-car teams under the same guise due to competitive reasons. But we saw a lot of that last season, obviously, with 4 BMWs, 4 Hyundais, and 4 Napas.
Well, yeah, there's no reason that Alliance Racing couldn't take a fourth focus and just call it Alliance Racing with such and such sponsorship. Amigos Spear, for argument's sake.
Yeah.
There's no reason that couldn't happen. That's the only way I see them getting filled, which is a bit of a shame.
So 2 more licenses that we are questioning how they're going to be used because of the driver that owns them, Aidan Moffat Racing. We believe that possibly Aidan won't be running those licenses in the same guise that he did last year, obviously being with One Motorsport and Cook and Edwards and Powell at first. Is he then going to loan them out like we believe he did with Team Hard last year? And they might be, again, 2 more Cupras, which are probably going to be available in the touring car fit-up. Or are they just not going to be used?
Or the third option is, does he use them to run the Starline branch of Toyota, and Toyota basically return their other 2 back to Gal, and that's part of the reason they get to drive there? Does that come into it?
There are possibilities.
Again, as I repeat the Boardley stuff, it will be taken on by... I don't see any new team entering the sport. I was amazed Restart Racing have, to be honest with you. That's a coup in itself in many ways. Where does another team come from?
Well,
I just don't see it.
Dare I say, and I know many things have been mentioned about this previously, Dynamics have all obviously stepped back from the sport a couple of years ago.
Yeah, but if they're going to come in, there's a more obvious place for them to come in.
I know, but is there the infrastructure there for them to rebuild and restart? Do they take on some of the Team Hard mechanics that have obviously lost their jobs over the close season?
Because they only run Hondas, they don't run Cupras.
They may still have Hondas available. Remember that One Motorsport obviously moved on 2 of theirs to take on the Dynamics cars, so there may be still Hondas out there available. Yes, they would be one of the older cars on the grid now.
Which I think would put Dynamics off.
Possibly, but they are there.
Yeah, but I think you can still get your hands on the Volkswagen Passat if you're thrifty
and
enough.
the Mercedes.
Yeah, if you're thrifty enough, but we want to.
We'll move on to the possible Hondas that will be on the grid then, and One Motorsport. Now, with the announcement that Cook will be moving on from the team, there are 3 licenses there set to be filled, and who fills them is anyone's guess. You could pluck a name out of the air.
Yeah, you could.
And
the current rumour mill, for all it's worth, is that one won't be back on the grid because of they've lost all their sponsorship, haven't they?
Yes.
That whole lot, as we'll get to, has gone to Toyota, as we'll come on to next. So they've basically got to build a whole new sponsorship program, which is almost impossible, I would say this close to the wire. We saw last year that obviously Cataclean and Dynamics fell apart because Cataclean went to Napa and they couldn't get any other deals over the line enough to cover that. And that was only one sponsor. They still potentially had other sponsors that they could have used. They've lost, if you look at the livery of the Toyota, they've lost everything.
Yeah.
So I'm really worried about whether they.
What you also have to take into consideration is that at the start of last season, obviously they had Powell there, and Powell bought a lot of power and money and stuff like that, which got slightly corrupted midway through the season. Allegedly, and he was obviously moved on. Now he's confirmed for TCR. So there's no chance in him coming back take on that team, and I think bridges were burned midway through last season quite heavily. So do we see a new sponsorship outfit come in, or are we going to see the struggles that BTC had towards the end and having real lack of sponsorship on the car?
I've just, in my mind, Team Shard, ran by Tony Hillam, comes to...
Could you imagine?
I mean, stranger things have happened.
Yes.
I mean, you've put the possibility about that Auto Bright take it on, having had done the Cupras last year and ended up sponsoring all 6.
There is a big sponsor there to be able to put enough money behind Team Hard to have 6 cars running in the same sponsorship.
Yeah.
Taking 3 cars at a team like One that have got some pedigree there in winning races, and the mechanics and the engineers there know how to get a car ready for a season.
Yeah, you've got drivers like Rob Huff.
It wouldn't be a silly idea as such,
it
wouldn't be too out there.
You've got drivers like Rob Huff trying to get back on the grid.
Yep.
Imagine he can bring something with him. I suppose you're right. If you were one of the hard sponsors, your Autobright, Bartercard, and the roofing one, that they were the three main on the car. They could all come together to do, if they wanted to stay in the series, they could all come together to do that. I don't know. It's really difficult.
The financial climate at the moment means that sponsors are finding it really difficult to back such things as motorsport and be a sponsorship package to be able to put 3 people through a whole season.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And the majority of the drivers on the grid need that sponsorship backing because of the money that's involved in running a single car, let alone a whole team.
Yeah.
So the options are very limited, but there are possibilities out there, we believe.
Yeah, and look, there's big name drivers that haven't been announced yet. You've still not got anywhere for Thompson, and if you listen to his sort of segment, if you like, with Autosport, he reckons he will be back, and doors open for him over the winter that he wasn't expecting to open. Whether that means 1 or if that actually means something even higher, who knows? But he could potentially be there. Nick Househead hasn't been announced at Hyundai yet. He could take sponsorship with him to something like this. It's not beyond the realms of possibility. There's other big name drivers in
I've just
lower
had
series.
a mad idea.
Go on then.
I've had a really mad idea.
Go on then.
Who on the grid hasn't been announced yet that has got tons of money? Chilton. Would Chilton have enough cojones, shall we say, to start his own team?
No. Not at this stage of his career. No. I like it. I think the more likely thing is if one is to come back, it'll be Team Dynamics with somebody like Autobright, and that'll be that's how it's going to be run. In my opinion, that's how it will happen.
Yep.
I think they lost Halford, didn't they, at the start?
Yes.
Which was the reasons, obviously, along with Cataclysm, they had to pull out. So
and Uasa.
Yeah, so if they were able to come back, Team Dynamics with Autobright and maybe Steel Alloy Wheels, if they've got a long-standing partnership with you, something like that. That to me is the most likely way we see One Motorsport back on the grid, in my opinion.
With a driver like Shedden to head up that team.
Shedden heads it with possibly someone like Edwards, if maybe she's got that's her best chance to get back on the grid for me. And then who knows, Huff, possibly. Yeah. Thompson, possibly.
Well, Thompson's obviously got a little bit of a link to Neil, having had some driver coaching from him throughout the early parts of last season.
Yeah.
So there may be possibilities there, but it is real speculation around One Motorsport, and I think it's, apart from the 3 licenses that we've already mentioned, the team as a whole is the one that we know pretty much nothing about.
Yeah, and I'd say the reason I don't think Team Dynamics take over Moffat Racing, for example, is because there's no cars there, there's no infrastructure there. They could cut. They've worked very closely with One over the last season and the season before. They were data sharing, weren't they? So that it makes the most sense that they come in to assist there. But obviously, that is pure speculation on our part.
Well, we'll move on then. Obviously, we've said that Cook has moved on.
Yeah.
And he's taken every single sponsorship that he can with him to create a second Speedworks team. So Speedworks, LHQ, Cinetic.
Rolls off the tongue, that one.
I know it does.
It's really
taking the Eurocar parts and the Starline brand with them in a very similar liveried Toyota for this season. Which leads us to believe that Toyota Gazoo will only be running 2 cars for this season.
That's how the reports come out. Yeah, Toyota Gazoo in their red, black and white livery will be running 2, and then you've got the 2 Toyota Corollas, but under this Starline LKU Syntec NASA powered hybrid version Honda thing.
Now, you mentioned all those sponsorships. Obviously, those sponsors were originally liveried up for Moffat in a Team Hard car.
In a Cupra, yeah.
In a Cupra.
He did was it the Eurosport show? He did a show, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah. And obviously, he then moved across to One Motorsport and took all of those with him.
He did.
Is it going to be the case that he takes all of those with him once again, and we will see Cook and Moffat line up like they did last season?
Yes.
But this season,
I'm just going to keep saying yes.
This season, just in a Toyota, which do you think is going to be more competitive than the Honda last season?
Yes to all of the above.
Okay, lovely.
It's got to be Moffat. It's
well summed up, mate.
It's got to be Moffat, isn't it? It's got to be Moffat. And the Toyota.
I'd be amazed if it isn't.
Yeah, me too. And because Cook has never had any of those sponsors before.
No.
So it's got to be Moffat. It's going to be Cook. They seem to get on last year.
Yeah.
And they're in a car that hopefully will be better for them than last year. So I think yes to all. And then obviously Toyota Gazoo Racing has got 2 seats to fill.
Yep.
Butcher isn't coming back, as we mentioned. Collard possibly not. Who knows? That is really
Gamble
interesting.
was there last season.
I forgot about Gamble, yeah.
Who didn't set the world alight and finished lowly in the championship. However,
I've completely forgotten about Gamble. Going back to One Motorsport.
I'm just about to mention it.
I was going to say he could take Car Gods and Hooch.
He has Car Gods with him and Hooch. That could be a big enough pull for a team like that.
I've forgotten all about Gamble. Yeah,
but if he's been in Toyota, does he stay there as a second driver? Do they bring
him?
A big driver in? Yeah, there's lots of possibilities there. Knowing that Toyota are a optimistic, forward-thinking brand, I think they're going to want a big name driver in there.
I was going to say, do they bring a big name driver and a driver academy driver?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying Smelt, but someone like they've got a huge driver database. You could bring in Sato if they really want. It's not going to happen, but they could bring in basically whoever they want off their driver academy program.
Just a quick one on them. Mm-hmm. I've seen the first round of the World Rally Championship, and the Yaris that they're using now with the Gazoo colours is all black with a massive GR on the side, by the way.
I reckon it'll be
so we could possibly see an all black Corolla this season.
Yes. So if
you might prefer that livery.
Last year's grew on me, to be fair. Yeah. It did grow on me. Okay, so 2 drivers then. Who are your 2 drivers if you've got to predict?
Oh, put me on the spot. Thanks. See, if they are going to be as forward-thinking as I think they might be, having someone like Bobby Thompson to lead that team, I think would be really good.
Yeah, I agree.
And then bringing in a younger driver that we may not have heard of is the likely possibility for me.
I would agree with you. I think the only thing I might swap out is Thompson, because I think he could end up at 1, depending on how that goes.
Yeah.
Rob Huff, I think, is the one I'd suggest.
He was the other one, because I remember that obviously towards the end of last season he was doing some testing for them.
And let's not forget Rob Austin exists. Whether he, whether he's now done with racing, I don't know, but he still exists.
Yeah, he does. He does.
But I think it's going to be a driver program.
Yeah,
driver.
So do I.
Yeah, I really do. Yeah.
So then, new team to the grid.
Yes.
In Cupras. We already know.
No speculation needed on this one.
No, we can confirm everything for this team. We even have a early release livery.
Which looks blooming good. Old chap.
We have Restart Racing. Now, they've obviously been in the championship before, and then they moved over to TCR.
I just thought something.
Go on.
We could have Smiley happened again.
Yes, I know we can.
That's great.
And Chris Smiley and Scott Sumpton will be moving over directly from TCR to the British Touring Cars in a Cupra.
I've got some stats on
Sumpton.
2020, he raced 13 races. No wins, no podiums, no poles, no fastest laps.
Yep.
2021, 16 races.
Are these all in TCR, by the way, or just across his career?
Okay. 2020 was the Junior Saloon Car Championship, where he finished 23rd overall with 53 points.
Yep.
2021, Junior Saloon Car Championship, again in a Citroen Saxo VTR. 16 races, no wins, no podiums, no fastest laps, no poles, but 143 points, so a marked improvement and a 17th overall.
Yep.
2022, he debuted in TCR, where he took 11 races, 1 pole position, and 36 points, 21st overall.
Okay.
2023, we saw him race in the Honda Civic Type R alongside Chris Smiley, the brand new Honda for that year.
Yep.
11 races, no podiums, no wins, no 1 fastest lap, and 109 points, 12th overall.
Yep.
And then TCR in Spain, he's raced 2 races, taken 1 podium, and no wins, no fast lap, or no poles, and there's no points. So I think that was just a one-off race.
Guest appearance.
So yeah, I would say a solid, if not unremarkable.
Yeah, he's done his learning in JSCC by the sounds of it, and has got to the understanding of what it means to be racing door to door with other drivers.
I mean, I'm really interested to see how he does, because touring cars is a massive step up.
Which we've seen Watson take to really well, but obviously he had a greater racing experience behind him. But also we saw Dobble come in from those lower series and adapt quite well.
And on the flip side, we've seen Carl Boardley, who struggled in touring cars, go on to win TCR. So, I'm not saying it's a step down, because obviously Boardley had rear running machinery in the sense that it wasn't the fastest, although he had the 1 series at one point. But anyway, we'll skirt over that. So it'll be interesting to see how Sumpton takes to the touring cars this year. Smiley, of course, old hand. He's won races, if I'm not mistaken, in this series, formerly of the BTC team as well.
Yep.
I I'm interested to see how Smiley's return goes. I'm really interested to see what they get out of the Cupras, because we know that there's a car that could win races there.
We also know that they're bringing a lot of their team from TCR.
Yes.
So although part of that team were running with BTC and its previous guys, they know the touring cars, but obviously they've never worked on the Cupra before.
Right.
And I think there's going to be a lot of learning, certainly in the first 2 or 3 weekends. And it may be the case that they'll be up towards the back at that point. But if we can see a good development from them throughout the season, then I think that it's promising for them.
Agreed.
Where should we go to next?
Just also a nice livery as well, if that's what they're going to use.
Yes.
Yeah.
PMR have 2 out of 3 drivers confirmed so far, 2 of which are coming back. Aaron Taylor-Smith for another season, and Doble after narrowly missing out on the Jack Sears win last year. I think that will be his main target for this season.
Absolutely, yeah, definitely.
And I'll be amazed, depending on the other drivers that come into the championship, if he doesn't take that quite comfortably.
You're forgetting. I know you're not forgetting Sam Oswald. He took a podium this year.
Indeed.
Apologies. Yeah,
Yes.
no, fair enough. He could be the only person in the Jack Sears at this rate.
With those two,
something will be, I suppose. Sorry, carry on.
With those 2 in there, that 3rd seat is still up for grabs. Watson has been doing bits and pieces at the Autosport show with PMR, and
yes, but he has had a birthday. They didn't announce it. They announced Doble and Aaron Smith on their respective birthdays. Watson was not announced on his birthday.
You're convinced by this, aren't you?
I am convinced by this, personally.
I think if Watson moves to another team within touring cars, that it won't be a bad thing for him.
No, nor do I don't disagree.
But I also don't think it'll be a bad thing if he stays with PMR for one more season.
I don't think it'll be bad either way for him. I think that if he does go, where? Possibility for Toyota.
Yeah, I mean, Toyota won, BMW.
He's got links there through Blundell.
Even Hyundai. Still waiting for drivers to be confirmed. There are plenty of spaces left for him.
Yeah, there are.
I do wonder whether he has many talks going on in the background as to what is going to be the best option for him, whether he needs to bring extra sponsorship or extra money for these higher up teams is questionable. But I certainly think if he needs to, he can still revert back to that PMR stuff.
Oh, yeah. Staying at PMR won't be a disaster for him. I just think that he certainly, attracted a lot of attention last year for the right reasons, and there'll be many a team looking at this, whether they can get him in.
Dare I say it? Is this the Astros last season?
No, it will be 2045 and the Astros will still be running. Well, actually, it must be, because when did it go out of production? Was it 2017, this shape? Because they can only run it 6 years after it finishes production, can't they?
Okay.
So
I didn't know that, Rob.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
do they bring a new Astra then?
Or is this the last year they can run it?
This might be the last year that they can run it. But
Focus are going to have the same problem, because obviously they've stopped production on the Focus now. So they're going to have the same problem in time. They can't run. I think it's 6 years.
Okay.
I'm confident of seeing that amount. Yeah. So, no, they won't bring a new Astra because they're still running 3 cars. I think if they're going to run a new car, then they're going back to 2, is what I thought. Rather, unless they take the Cupras that are lying about, which is a possibility, but I don't think so. I think it'll be the Vauxhall Astra from last year, and I think Taylor Swift will win a race this year.
Okay, that'll please your dad, won't it? Moving on then to the big 3.
Yes.
Shall we start with Hyundai?
Yeah, because there's only actually one driver actually announced.
Effectively, yes.
Yeah, so Pearson
is an absolute confirm, nailed on for this season.
Yeah.
We believe, with all the talks that Ingram is having on social media, that he will be back trying to retain his title for 2024.
Yeah,
and that it will be with Hyundai.
Yeah, he said all this, but he's not actually been officially confirmed. But yeah,
as far as we're concerned at the moment, there are 2 seats to be confirmed at Hyundai.
Yeah.
I think Chilton probably has the option of whether he wants one of those seats because of the amount of sponsorship and money he brings with him. If he wants to take it, he's in a jelly position, basically, of where BMW were.
Yeah, Chilton will be back.
Yeah, I think so too. And that final seat, you're more convinced about Halstead coming back, aren't you?
Only because he put a post on a touring car fan group the other day explaining that there's lots more to come from the new season. Everyone should stop being miserable. There's lots of exciting things happening. I just think if he's doing that, I know you're saying he's doing it with his corporate ITV hat on, and I get what you're saying, but I also think that the way he was speaking about being able to overtake better with the hybrids this year.
But that's entertainment purposes.
Yeah, no, I get it, but
Because
I know you don't want him to be back, but I don't want Man City to win the league. But it's likely they're going to. So, I think I don't want Klopp to leave Liverpool, but sadly,
it's happening.
Yeah, exactly. So, I think House is back. I'm sorry, I think he is.
Okay, I'm less sure on it because I think that is more of his promotional commercial brain going, look, we've got these changes coming to the touring cars this year, we want to bring more viewership.
Yeah, but I think he'll go, do you know what, last year was a learning year. This year, if it still doesn't click, we'll give it up next year. Okay. It's how I personally think he'll see it. But there we go.
If he doesn't, who do you think is a possibility for that seat?
I would love it to be Dan Zelos from the minis below. I think he's proven himself in that championship time and time again. Definitely. I think he could certainly have to step up. Will Orton's another name that I'd like to see make the step up to touring cars. What I'd like to see is accelerate. They've got this driver program. I'd like to see promotion through the ranks. It's what I don't want to see another big name touring car driver go there. As much as I want Bobby in the series, stuff like that. The whole point of having a driver program is that you bring the talent through, and so that's why
they have already started to do with Pearson.
I get that, but I think that there's no reason they couldn't have. So this is where I think they're possibly getting a bit wrong. Get rid of Chilton because he's not good enough at the front. Yep. Have a proper teammate alongside Ingram and then run two of your program drivers beneath. That's how I'd do it, personally. But realistically, I don't know. I don't know who would be the final one there. I'd like to say Zelos or Orton. I know Orton I don't think is an Accelerate driver, but...
no, but he was a Team Hard driver and...
Yeah, Team Hard possibility, wasn't he? Yeah,
there are questions over how far Team Hard are gone.
Yeah, we'll see him in any lower form. I don't know. Who would you suggest would be there then?
As you've already mentioned, Dan Zelos, I think, is a prime candidate for that seat. But
he's official test driver as well, reserve driver, isn't he? So...
Yeah, and I think they've also got a female driver in there as well.
Yeah.
But there are so many guys that they have across the lower junior formulas that they could just go, right, we'll take this one for a season, see how they do, and if it doesn't work out, then you go, okay, you go back to the minis or wherever they've come from.
Do you put Edwards in that seat? I don't.
No, I don't think I do.
No, fair enough.
I think if anywhere, I think we've already mentioned she's likely to be back at One Motorsport, whatever guise it is in.
Would you take a final question?
Yep.
We talk about youth. Would you take a shot on Darren
Lyon? He's very young. He was, 16, 17 in the Porsches last season. He didn't do a full season.
No, DeLyon, not DeHaan.
Oh, sorry. DeLyon.
He's still very young.
He is still very young,
but he's also very fast.
He is.
Would you take a shot on him?
It'd be interesting to see, one, if he does move programs.
Yeah.
Whether he wants to go into a program like Accelerate have got, or whether he tries to go his own way. I think going his own way would be a struggle because the amount of sponsorship that sponsorship that Hard gave him.
I think he was quietly impressive last year.
Yeah.
I think the lad's quick. And I think that he will have, because of his age, people would have sat up and took notice of him.
Definitely.
He only made one mistake all season, which was being in his first qualifying session, which can be done. I don't think it will be, but if they were to announce, if Househead wasn't coming back and there was a seat available, I wouldn't be surprised if they announced it was DeLyon. I wouldn't be surprised.
Does that go slightly against their whole bringing drivers through scheme?
It does, but they've also got a young driver who's already proven in the touring cars to a degree. I prefer to see Zelos because I want to see him have the shot because he's done so well at minis. I want to see him have that shot.
Yep.
But equally, DeLyon did really impress me last year. Considering you've got a 17-year-old who was just rawly very quick and didn't do an awful lot wrong and score points in that car where others haven't.
Yeah.
Like Boutel or House didn't score points last year. He outscored people that frankly had no right to do so.
No, I agree on that. And until you mentioned him then, I hadn't even considered that he may be coming back for this season. We'll move on to BMW next.
Yes.
We've got Hill confirmed absolutely 100%. He was nice and early on confirmation with laser tools.
Livery's been revealed as well.
In the BMW once again. Turkington, from the way he's been talking, looks like he's coming back again for this season.
Yeah, I'm not, as I said, we were predicting who would be back. I'm not surprised he's back, but I'm also surprised he's back as well at the same time. Yeah, it could have gone either way, and we'll see. I don't think it'll be a good year for him. I'm going to go early on that.
Jelly, as we know, has already gone off to Porsche.
Yeah.
Morgan may well have a multi-year deal, and that's mainly based off the on the Limit series that's come off the back of last season. And let's hope he has a little bit more luck. I know you thought he was quite boisterous at times, certainly in his own team at Sicily in the BMW.
Yeah, I think that on the limit, we're going to do a special on this when it's all finished. I think it's interesting because it cuts in a different way. I've always, throughout last season, I thought that you make your own luck to a degree.
Yeah.
And I think that he did make a lot of mistakes. And to be fair, they've shown that in the documentary.
Yeah.
He has made a lot. But equally, he's right. He's doing really well at Knockhill, and Butcher on the wrong tyre comes careering across the track and T-bones and takes him out. And I haven't really considered that. But equally, as he says in the documentary himself, he went 6 rounds last year without scoring a point. That's not good enough for BMW.
No.
It really isn't.
Right.
So... And I think you could also see that the team were getting frustrated with him at times last year as well from this documentary. So, yeah, I think he's back. There's no point him going there for only 1 year. He'll be back, I think.
He plays the team game as well,
which
is always needed in those upper teams, shall we say, from last season. To fill that final BMW seat then.
You're convinced it's Ricky Collard.
I am convinced it's Ricky Collard, yes.
I'm not convinced in the same way. I think that yes, there's the family connections, but Rob was a better, in my opinion, played the game better in terms of the media and all that kind of stuff. Ricky, in my opinion...
He's a bit rebellious.
Yeah, and will BMW want... They've already got that at Jake Hill to a degree. Well, they have. Jake Hill doesn't care about team orders, as you've seen.
He's effectively not in that team.
No, I know, but my point is that if Turkington and Collard, Ricky Collard, were side by side, and Turkington's in the championship fight, would you believe that Collard will yield that, or do you think he'll push him all the way? And that's my question. With Rob, I think you have the trust that Rob would do that. I'm not sure if it's for first place. I think Rob would reluctantly, but would do it. I'm not convinced I would trust Ricky in the same way to do it, and that's why with my BMW hat on, which I don't own because they're 45 quid. I'm just wondering, they've already got a rebellious person in a way in Hill.
Yep.
Morgan is Morgan.
Yep.
You know, he will play a team game, but he's also there for himself as well. Do they want someone who's going to be a steady Eddie and just score the points and help Turkington out, or do they want someone like Collard who might upset the apple cart a little bit? I don't know.
Can I put something out there that you might not have thought about? What if they go to Collard and go, look, we'd like you to come in. Obviously, you've got history, some history with the team before, obviously standing in for his dad. Yeah. Turkington's only got 1 more year. For this year, I want you to play the team game. And I want you to be the driver that will take points off other drivers, which I think he could do quite easily.
Yeah.
But when Turkington, if he's fighting for a championship, needs that position, you've got to give it to him.
Okay.
Because he's got 1 more season left, and this could be the chance that he takes the record of the 5 championships.
I think you're making a very compelling point, apart from if you're Adam Morgan, you're even more red-faced than usual, if that's the thing. Because I would have thought that he'd be expecting to take that throne.
Let him. If Morgan is in the position where he can do that sort of thing,
but
then
you can't promise Collard that and Morgan that. One of them's going to have to become number 1 driver. If Turkington does go...
Then they fight out for it over this season, and whoever comes out on top...
Sorry, you're now suggesting that Collard and Morgan go to war. I mean, that I can more see...
There is going to be a difficult time to come for BMW when Turkington goes, right, I'm done. I'm walking away.
I agree.
Then they need to find a team leader.
Yeah.
To find that, you either bring in a driver that is going to go in as number 1, which really steps on the toes of the drivers that have been there for a couple of seasons.
Yes, I agree.
Or you have to promote one of the drivers that has been there.
Okay.
Now, whether you give it to the driver that has been there for a couple of seasons in Morgan, or whether you give it to a driver that's come in and then possibly outperformed Morgan in that first season, it's always going to be a difficult decision.
Okay, but if you've now got a lineup then of 3 drivers, Collard is one of them.
Yep.
Bobby Thompson's another one. Andrew Watson's the 3rd.
Yep.
If your BMW hat on, right, thinking about the brand, thinking about where you want to be on the grid, thinking about the team game supporting Colin. No one's allowed to touch Colin. That is the rule, isn't it? Basically,
apparently.
Which of those 3 do you think, and will consistently point score off other drivers? Which of those 3 do you take? And I'm sorry, I don't think it's Collard out those 3. Assuming those 3 are in the equation, obviously we're
Out of those 3, it would have to be Watson, because I think he's more adept to playing the team game, and we've seen that this season. But he's still there to be able to take points off other drivers. I think Bobby very much will race for himself because that's the kind of driver that he is, and he takes the opportunities. Ricky does the same to some extent.
For the record, I really like Ricky as a driver. He's he's a throwback to the glory days of touring cars. I really like him as a driver. I think he's exciting to watch, and he's a bit of a tinderbox, which is good for a spectator. Yeah. That's really good. But with a branded hat on and a branded team wear for that particular team, which is the risk of sounding so difficult, efficiency, by the book, we are BMW.
German.
We are BMW. We win races. It's our DNA. We do it this way. Come on, son, you do it this way because it's BMW. I just don't think Ricky fits as well as his dad did.
Okay.
If you were saying there's a seat going at Alliance, I'd say Collard all day long because I think he fits them slightly more, the mould of what they're all about, than he does BMW, personally.
Well, you mentioned Alliance there.
I have.
We'll get on to them now.
Yes.
Obviously known as Napa Racing last season, they're Napa Racing with Alliance, I believe, for this coming season, as long as Napa don't go and sponsor the championship, which I don't believe they will. Sutton, what?
Strange things happen, so.
Yeah, I know. Sutton.
It's weird that Napa, sorry, just on that point, it's weird that Napa came in, all guns blazing, we're Napa Racing, and after a year or so they've gone, now we're going to go to Alliance. That's odd. That's strange. Mm-hmm. So, that's strange. But anyway.
We believe that all 4 drivers will be there next season.
Nice and easy, this one, I think. No, it's been officially confirmed.
Amount of social media that there has been from the team, with all drivers included, in team wear and stuff like that, we'd be amazed if someone else steps in there, unless, as you've already mentioned, they pick up another licence.
Yeah, that's the only way around it, isn't it? And that's true for all the other teams we've just spoken about. But they could pick up a 5th licence. But Osborne has got the Stroll seat, so he's there.
Yes.
Camish was on a 2-year deal, 3-year deal anyway, I think, so he'll be back. Rowbottom, he brings Cat clean, so he can't go because they need that sponsorship.
I do believe that Camish is going to give it one more year, and if he doesn't get the results that he wants, then he will possibly move on.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And then Sutton, unless Sutton decides he wants a challenge and wants to go and take a
Cupra.
In
his own. Could you imagine he takes cardboard licence and just does what he wants? Takes his engineering team with him and goes, to you all.
Yes, but next year, once he's already got the 5th.
Okay, right.
Once he's already got the 5th in the bank, that's something I can see him potentially doing. But
what was quite interesting, and I know they focus on just the 3 drivers in on the limit, and we will get onto it. But they had the little interview with him at Knock Hill, and taking those glory titles of the 5, and
it's what he wants.
It means a hell of a lot to him, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely, yeah, it really does, and he'll be back. Yeah, he'll be back in the Ford this year.
Yeah.
He'll win the title, I think. I'm already going early. The amount of gap that had to be closed with the other teams, assuming that Napa didn't stand still over winter, I just don't see how it. I hope to be wrong. I just don't see anything other than another Sutton Championship already this year. I really don't.
I don't mind if it is, but I want to see more competition. I want to see more drivers winning races. I want to see more different teams and different cars taking pole positions this year.
The problem is because
because
the teams are basically staying the same and the cars are basically staying the same. I don't see.
Don't forget the hybrid.
Yeah. To be fair, the qualifying format could really change it because people are going, well, Sutton always get in. Don't forget Silverstone. Robot had to sacrifice himself to get in the top 10. It's not a guarantee that he will.
Do you think cars were getting closer towards them towards the end of the season? It's just how much of a step any teams or cars have taken over that winter period.
They were getting closer to 3 of them. But then Sutton was in a league of his own last year. He got into the groove early, and that helps. Yeah. But it'll be interesting. We'll obviously do a predictions pod nearer the time. It's too early to do a full prediction pod in a minute.
Yeah, we will have many more pods coming up. We're going to look to do an update depending on news that is released towards the end of February as well.
Yep.
We will have a review coming up of the On The Limit series, which is done on YouTube on the Quick Fit channel. We will have our predictions before the opening of the season. We are planning to go to Media Day in April, which we believe to be on the 16th.
I hope so. That's the date I've booked off work.
And then we will, of course, have a season preview for you once all, hopefully, teams and drivers are announced before that opening weekend at Donington.
And we'll have the 2024 programme brochure ready for the start of the season as well, like we did last year. So you'll be able to download that too. I think that covers everything off for now.
Yeah.
Have you got any announcements you wish to make?
We will bring you, obviously, a full rules and regulations update before we get into the season because, as we've partially mentioned, there will be changes to qualifying formats and also hybrid. But we will bring you fully up to date with everything that you need to know for the 2024 season. Yeah.
I think that's it, apart from One final question before we go then.
Go on.
Are you worried about the future of touring cars? Based on where we are at the minute, we've got roughly half the grid announced, roughly, more or less.
Not yet.
Right.
But it really does depend on whether the licenses that we're questioning about get filled.
Yeah.
If there's a big issue with One Motorsport and possibly not even getting a team there,
Yeah.
then I think there are big issues on the horizon.
I think the biggest is a good chance we to sort of thump the hybrid a little bit. It's too expensive. I think that's putting people off. I think that's part of the problem. I think it's an expensive system that doesn't really work. Say the line, Russell. And I think that there's.
I'm not sure that's just down to hybrid. I think
no, but that is
Btcc format as a whole is getting expensive.
But that doesn't help because there's a whole new computer system and stuff. Yeah. And I think that if that's got to be a rule that's provided, that should be provided by TOCA and cost for no cost to the teams.
Yeah.
I think otherwise it's too expensive. Basically, opted not to run it last year because it was so expensive. Effectively, didn't they?
Yeah. Had a little blue light in the window.
Yeah, but how many times
like the rest of the teams?
How many times they have hybrid issues? And I'm just wondering, did they just opt not to run it due to costs, or I don't know. I'm speculating a little bit, but it's expensive.
If you haven't done already, please do click the like button below. Remember to subscribe, get the bell on YouTube, and keep up with all our goings on. We're looking to do more vlogs throughout the season, and we're possibly looking to expand our social media onto TikTok this season.
Yes.
Depending if our old people can get it working.
And I should probably drag you to Silverstone Museum at some point because it was a very good day out.
Yeah, you had a very good day out there.
Very good day out. It was very good. There isn't a lot of touring car stuff. It is F1 heavy. But if you're a motorsport fan, I'm not being paid by Silverstone to say this, but if you're a motorsport fan, if someone's got a passing interest in motorsport, which I'm assuming you would because that's who you're listening to us right now.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Can't be any other reason, surely.
Learning English with Sam and Russell. It's a really good day out, and I thoroughly enjoyed the day there. So,
we'll be back again with our next podcast and news update. Thanks very much. My head is massive.
Your head is huge.
I've never realised it until we started recording.
Never realised it. I've told you.
Until we started recording together, I've never properly realised it.
I've always told you your head is huge.
I know.
And you're wearing your heels today to be taller than me as well.
Well, I'll take my shoes off. No,
it's all right.
They hardly make much difference.
You can be taller than me.
I think you just need to stand further forward.
About there. That's fine. That's good.
Dear.
That's good. Noise looks good.
Yeah, noise does look good.
The only thing I'm already worried about is the 33% dropping to 25.
I don't tend to mind that when we're doing it here, because once I do that,